ask the question, why do we have to have a lockdown for an election?
For security reasons, they say there's heightened security situation.
I don't
so
know.
They are trying to prevent that.
Talk about that, Jumai.
Ghana next door there conducts election and everybody goes about their business.
Precisely.
Go and vote. We will grow to that.
Yes, we'll grow to that. Thank you, Bayo, for coming.
Thank you, too.
We'll take a break now. When we return, our conversation will begin.
The Nigerian aviation sector is rapidly growing with the construction of new international airport terminals in several regions of the country. The new Murtala Mohammed International Airport has an estimated passenger increase of 30 million annually and 15 million for Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. Malam Aminu Kano International Airport is also expected to open new frontiers for the region with more travel capacity for the annual Hajj, while the new Akanu Ibiam International Airport, Enugu, avails more business opportunities connecting the industrial cities in the region to the world. These new terminals beat world-class standards with enabling infrastructure that aid air travel, tourism, and the eventual growth of the country's GDP.
Open up commerce and, of course, link us to international societies.
People from international community will come here to do business, and then that will bring in more revenue to the state.
Now, distances can be seamlessly covered as Nigeria keeps raising its bar to suit global infrastructure standards.
Shola, come and help me. You need to learn.
But I'm more interested in drawing.
How are you going to be part of the business if you don't learn?
You just don't understand.
Morning. Anyone for some Lipton?
The rich taste of Lipton awakens body and mind.
Let me have a look at your drawings. Son, these designs are amazing.
Lipton Yellow Label Tea. Awaken to what really matters.
The counsel of our fathers.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
Every harmattan, he falls sick so frequently and misses school often. I keep him away from junk food.
She also feeds me apple. She says an apple a day keeps...
If you want to keep germs away, then use Dettol soap regularly. Germs and disease spread easily during harmattan. For this, use Dettol soap. Dettol protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Dettol soap is endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association. Be Dettol sure.
Well, the housing solution we have developed is a multifaceted one. First, we have tried to lead a program to build what we think will be an acceptable and hopefully affordable housing type based on surveys we did in 2015-2016 and construction that started in 2017. And that's going on in 24 states as the National Housing Program.
This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
And you're welcome back to Good Morning Nigeria. And to begin our discussion on water sector outlook in 2022, let's take this background report by Joseph Osen.
Water resources is vital for industrialization, agricultural development, hydropower, water transportation and recreation, domestic usage, as well as improvement in hygiene and sanitation. Nigeria has 250 billion cubic meters of surface and groundwater. But even with this profile, Nigeria is being ranked as an economic water-scarce country, with experts attributing this to poor investment and lack of robust partnership between federal, states, and the private sector. Though the country has a National Water Resources Master Plan, which was approved by the National Executive Council in 2014, achieving sustainable water supply has been far-fetched. However, the present administration wants to turn things around with reforms. Several plans have been launched towards this direction, including the National Water Resources Policy 2016, Water Sector Roadmap 2016 to 2030, or Important Nigerian Water Resources Bill 2020, National Irrigation and Drainage Policy 2020, and National Roadmap for Ending Open Defecation by 2025. Effective implementation of these policies hinge on completion of inherited projects to ensure that Nigerians reap their benefits before embarking on new ones. The impact so far has been described as remarkable by major actors, as 34 out of the 116 projects inherited in 2015 completed and new ones conceived and executed too. During the Ministry of Water Resources' third Media Water event, the ministry named 458 completed water projects between 2016 to 2021. A breakdown shows that 12 major dams and 42 other smaller ones have been completed. 3 major hydropower plants and 9 major irrigation projects are also successfully executed. Through the Partnership for Expanded Water, Sanitation and Hygiene Services 2021 to 2030, access to safe-drinking water is reported to have been improved to additional 20 million people, while access to adequate sanitation and hygiene has additional 6 million people using public facilities at the end of 2020. Enhancing trans-border cooperation on water is another area the government is exploring to boost production in the sector. Regaining lost areas of the Lake Chad for economic activities is the target, and international collaborations have resulted to the adoption of a roadmap to save the Lake Chad. There is no doubt the Ministry of Water Resources has a lot on its hands, and most of the projects earmarked have long span for completion and will be requiring huge funding. How possible are set targets, and what is the expectation of the public towards sustainable water supply? Guests on Good Morning Nigeria will take us through this.
And joining us on the studios now to discuss those issues and more, would like to welcome the Honorable Minister of Water Resources, Engineer Suleiman Adamu. Honorable Minister, pleasure to have you again on Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning.
Also here with us at the studios, would like to welcome the Chief of WASH at Unicef, Jane Bevan. Pleasure to have you again on Good Morning Nigeria as well.
Good morning.
All right. Jumain?
And joining us from our Mina studio is the Commissioner for Water Resources and Dams Development, Niger State, Yusuf Suleiman. Thanks for joining us on Good Morning Nigeria.
It's a pleasure joining you. Good morning, viewers.
And also joining us via Zoom is Commissioner also joining us via Zoom. Okay, he'll be joining us later, and he's the Commissioner for Water Resources in Edo State, Honorable Moses Aboko. He'll be joining us in the course of the program. Kesley?
All right, we're delighted to have the 3 guests with us so far for this conversation. Let's begin with the Honorable Minister of Water Resources. You've been a regular guest on Good Morning Nigeria. We've discussed water issues, we've discussed the water master plan, and the various milestones that have been achieved. The outlook for last year, the outlook for this year will be a major concern. But where are we in terms of the implementation of the water master plan? That is to say, at the end of 2021, what is it that had been achieved with regard to the water master plan?
Well, we're working on a tripod of 3 key pillars, as we call them. One is the National Water Resources Master Plan, which the concept was begun way back in 1995, and it was reviewed in 2014. So now it's a 2016 to 2030. Then we have the Water Sector Roadmap, which we created under this administration, which is also 2016 to 2030. And then we have the Millennium Development Goals, Sustainable Development Goals, which is also a 2016 to 2030 affair. It was just by some kind of coincidence that all this came. And so these SDGs and the Water Resources Master Plan were already in place. So we came in to put up a roadmap that aligned with these two particular endeavors. So talking about the Water Resources Master Plan itself, I think we lost a lot of ground since it was first conceived way back in 1995, because I just got a document a few days ago looking at all the major projects that have been executed in the last 20, 30 years in the ministry, and to identify which ones are on the master plan and which are not. And just scanning through, almost 90% of all the projects that have been executed or where it's initiated in the last 30 years are not on the master plan. So it means for years the master plan was not being followed. So it's under this administration that we're making concerted efforts to do that. But obviously you're aware that the resources of the country are quite limited at the moment. We have revenue challenges, so spending on major infrastructure projects is difficult. Still, we've been able to identify 3 projects, 2 under irrigation and 1 under what we call the Howell Interbasin Transfer. And these are projects that we want to promote going forward, at least to leave them as legacy projects. Maybe a successful administration will come and continue. But as you know, we've concentrated since we came into office on the major on projects that we inherited, which we think are beneficial to the people, which were started, some were abandoned, some were just, crawling. We managed to inject some life into them and been able to implement them. As for our roadmap, that is the water sector roadmap, which we created, which we developed in 2015, November 2015, when I came into office, that is going on very well. All the key issues that we identified, we're working on them. Reforms of the ministry, policy issues. We've concluded most of the policy issues, except for the water bill, which is still being addressed. We decided that we're going to continue implementing projects that we inherited, that, as I've already mentioned, that are beneficial to the people. That has been going. The report mentioned that we've finished 34. Before the end of this year, hopefully about 40, and maybe before the administration leave would have taken it much to 45 or so. Mark, we inherited 116 projects, but we prioritized about 74 or 75. So we are like halfway. We've been able, by the time we leave this administration, we leave in 2023, would have been able to finish about 50% of those prioritized projects. Then we've also worked on improving the water supply sector. The recent statistics show that while in 2015, when we came into office, based on the MDG targets, where Nigeria had we had only 68% coverage. As at 2020, we've moved to the 71%, and I think we'll continue to move. The PWASH program is going on very well. That's our rural intervention. We're working with about 12 states now. We're doing another 5 more. So that's going on. The campaign, we launched the roadmap against open defecation in 2016. Is also going on well, slowly but surely. So quite a number of things. Our efforts are, getting alternative sources of funding is another issue that we put in the roadmap. We're looking now, we've identified so many projects, especially in the hydropower sector, subsector, that we're engaging with the private sector. So we're going to have like PPPs, especially the build, operate, and transfer model for many of these highway projects, hydropower projects. So by and large, the roadmap is going on well, and we'll just do what we can. And
What exactly is happening to the water bill? It's a very important, component of water resources. And why is it taking so long for it to pass through the National Assembly and get the nod from Mr. President?
Well, unfortunately, I've talked about this several times. The bill was unnecessarily politicized. Unnecessarily. There was no issue, but it was politicized. Maybe the timing when it was presented to the assembly. But I think basically some people just decided to be mischievous about this, trying to find a way to you know, especially the opposition, trying to find any way to rubbish the administration. And they wanted to hype and pitch the government against the people. We have explained all that we need to explain. The National Assembly is fully aware. We have engaged them. They've seen all the merits. All the issues that have been put in the public domain have been debunked as false and misleading. But even then, we engage with, like the Governors Forum, we engage with quite a number of you know, different groups. And after all said and done, we came back and said, okay, look, maybe there is a problem somewhere. So we now invited legal consultants that are experts in environmental law within the country, and we gave them the bill to review. And the review just came and said there's nothing wrong with this bill. But we also sent it back to the Attorney General, who said, look, these are the comments from the public, these are the comments from the Governors Forum. Please look at these issues again and advise us. And the advisors come, so we've gathered everything, we're sending it back to the National Assembly. We've proposed certain changes, basically in terms of semantics. But I think all the issues that at least the major stakeholders have been concerned about, they've been addressed. And I believe that this year this bill will be passed. It's necessary to pass this bill for several reasons, which I have mentioned. And in particular, we are talking today about the problem of water supply delivery. In this particular bill, in this very bill, there is a section that provides for a WASH fund, Water, Sanitation and Hygiene Fund, that states can leverage to invest and improve the water supply delivery in their states. If we don't pass this bill, we lose that. There is an aspect of private sector participation. We need to strengthen the regulatory system, the same way we have it in the power sector, so that the private investors can come. And we're not saying we're privatizing water, but there are several aspects of water supply delivery that the private sector can key in and improve on the service delivery. That's just what we're after. And if we don't get a good regulator that will encourage and protect the investment of these private investors, then we're not going to go there. And we know clearly, we're very certain that state governments cannot on their own. Government agencies cannot run these utility schemes efficiently. They cannot. So we need to bring in the private sector into it. And the federal government is not, by itself, is not mandated to run water supply systems across the country. This is the responsibility of states and local governments. And that's why the state government doesn't have a water, federal government doesn't have a water agency.
We will come to the role of subnational entities in the water sector management. But still on the water bill that has been contentious, as you indicated, because it's been politicized. There was the argument that the water bill, if passed, could lead to compulsory acquisition of natural assets and therefore the dispossession of persons and communities of their water resources. Now, you say you have engaged with Governors Forum and other key political stakeholders. Have they understood now what the essence of the bill is and the fear of the dispossession of the natural resources?
There is nothing about dispossession, Kingsley. You have the federal highways in this country. They cross across states. It's natural. That's why you have federal highways under Federal Ministry of Works and Housing. Because these highways cut across states. The same way with railway, the same way with our airspace, the same way our rivers cross states. You have to have a custodian. And Schedule 64 of the Constitution makes it that all water bodies, all rivers that cross state boundaries are under the control or regulatory authority of the federal government. I mean, this is clear. We didn't put it. It's there in the Constitution. So where is the grab, or where is the taking away of resource? That is just what it is all about. what the argument has been that the federal government is going to take the banks of the rivers. That is not true. We have debunked that. It is not there. Rivers, of course, change course every now and then. All we're after is the water as a resource. Needs to be managed and controlled and guided by a big brother, and that's the federal government. If you don't do that, every state of the federation will claim the river within its territory, and those that need the water downstream, because the water flows down, they are shortchanged. That's the whole essence, is to protect everybody, to give everybody the equal right and equal access to this water, so that somebody doesn't corner it for his own use. And it is very clear in that bill that for those that want to use water for their own personal use, they are free to use it. Go and read the bill. It's clearly stated in that bill. So if you want to drill a borehole in your house, by all means, do it. If you have a river flowing by your farm and you want to tap into it and irrigate your crops, you are free to do that. But if you want to do something on an industrial scale, you have 10,000 hectares of sugarcane, or 20,000 hectares of sugarcane, or you have 1 million liters factory that is producing water, drinking water, bottled water, yes, or a beverage. You are mining the water. So you need to pay for it because it doesn't belong to you. You cannot be taking that water for free and be doing business with it at the expense of the people that are there. And that's what it's all about. You pay to the authorities. There are charges that you pay. They are gazetted. They are there by law. Okay. The law is existing. Okay. So it's not new.
Okay. Yeah, because, that could also become an issue between the federal and state governments to say, this river is in our territory, this factory is in our territory, they are mining the water in our territory. So we'll collect the money. So,
yes, those are the issues that have been added. We have never really, and that is what this bill, one of the things, because that used to be a vague, it was an ambiguous situation. Provision, yeah. And now this bill is trying to say, okay, what we are saying regarding that is, we want a national policy. We need national standards on this. And then the same way that state governments, approve building regulations and collect charges for, that's what we're saying regarding the for instance, groundwater, But the existing law even provides that state governments that are tapping into rivers, because these are under the control of federal, should pay for the raw water. When the federal government builds a dam, the state governments want to tap into it, they're supposed to pay for the raw water. But we have not been enforcing that, And all these things, the bill will try to clear such ambiguities, so that we have a focus, we have a good approach, and everybody knows where he stands. That's the whole point.
Honorable Minister, while you were explaining, you said something about a river changing its course and all that, and it just struck me. I wouldn't know if you're familiar with a river called, at some point, is named River Ovia. The Ovia River is significant because it has a course that goes across the Benin or Jebode-Shagamu Expressway. Now, 9 years ago, during a tour of that location, it was indicated by the then Minister of Works that part of the challenge that highway was having was that the River Ovia was changing its course. A number of ghastly accidents have occurred on that bridge, particularly over the course. And some of the sections were collapsing, so they had to use one part of the carriageway. I wouldn't know whether the course has been redirected, because it required some, what do they call it? It's on geo intervention. You're an engineer, so you would know that. So whether that has been sorted out. So I think it's very interesting, because it was eating into a different part. The river was going to a different part, but not necessarily where the bridge was located. It's a very popular one. But just before we leave the issue of water bill, you talked about other policies that you're focused on. What are these other policies? Because the water bill appears to be the signature policy.
Well, we had it's not the signature policy, I would say, because what was most important to us has been like the water resources policy 2016 that was approved in 2016, water resources policy and strategy, and we also had the national irrigation and drainage policy. These are two policies that have been pending, that have been on the shelves, that we brought out, dusted, cleaned, and took to the Federal Executive Council and got them approved. And on the basis of that policy, like for the irrigation, that's what helped us to develop also the National Irrigation and Drainage Program, which is a 15-year irrigation development program from 2016 to 2030. So the water resources policy and strategy provides for some of the highlights. I think I'll just provide maybe two. Provides that the federal government will support states, in terms of provision of water supply by up to 30% of their investment. Federal government can contribute up to 30% of the investment for the states. And we've been applying that. I think for the first time, we set up a budget line in 2017 to support states for intervention. Although there have been lots of projects going on, like Otuoke Water Supply, Ota Water Supply Project, Zungeru Wushishi Water Supply Project, which were being funded almost 100% by the federal government. But on the strength of that policy, we now went back. Otuoke was lucky; it was already at 90-something%, so we completed it and commissioned. But the others, we now renegotiated with the state governments and took the major portions to finish, and then left certain portions for them. And that is why we're able to successfully finish the Zobe Water Supply Project that supplies Katsina. It was started in 1992, so it took almost 30 years to finish that project. And when we restructured the investment plan, we're able now to get water to where it is needed most, that is Katsina town. And then the other regional extensions are going to be handled by Katsina state government. So we did that. And then the second issue is the rural water supply policy. The Millennium Development Goals data showed that even though we had attained 68% coverage as at 2015, but 50% of the rural population was not covered. And that's why we introduced the PWASH program. But in the policy, we also said that it's going to be federal government will support states with 50% contribution to do rural water schemes. But we had to lay new conditions because for several years, federal government would come out with a national rural water supply program. They would drill the boreholes in the rural communities, hand over, and nobody cared. Nobody was maintaining the schemes, neither the communities nor the rural water supply agencies. And even some states, they just folded their arms. There was going to be a federal intervention, so there was virtually nothing going on. The states were not investing anything. And that's why under the new strategy, we're saying that it's going to be a partnership. So states must invest along with the federal government. You do 50%, we do 50%. We started with a pilot project, and then we expanded the scheme, started with 12 states. And we realized that some states, even then, although they put money in their budget, announced that they have this money, but they never really implemented anything. So going forward now, it's going to be performance for result. Federal government again is no longer going to just go in and drill boreholes in rural communities. We are going to agree with the state governments, okay, we are going to do, say, 20 rural schemes. You are going to do 20 at state level. So the state will insist that the state does this for 20 first, and when we are convinced that they have done it and done it well, then the federal government will come and do it on 20. The idea is not to punish, it's just to incentivize the states to do more.
Exactly. Working with federal government and states, and let's look beyond Nigeria and look at our basins, our water basins, especially Lake Chad. What level of collaboration do you have with bordering countries on how they build dams to stop the flow of water to our basins, which basically the rural communities depend on?
Well, again, you see, this is one of the failures of the inability to implement the water resources master plan. All those ideas, all those issues are taken care of. If we were to implement the master plan to the letter, I think a lot of these problems would have been resolved. But the other thing is, internally, again, it takes me back to the water bill. If we have a strong regulator, even within the country, we cannot just be constructing dams and diverting waters indiscriminately. The Integrated Water Resources Management Commission would have to meet with stakeholders, have to do all the environmental and social impact studies and then lay everything on the table transparently for the communities upstream and downstream and everybody. And there has to be a consensus before some of this project can be implemented. And that is why, for instance, up till today, we've not been able to implement the Zaki Dam project in Bauchi State because downstream communities in Yobe say no. Until there is a consensus, then years before, this was not possible. And this is one of the things we want to strengthen. Regarding other countries, it's difficult to say, but I think Nigeria has been a major culprit because we've been doing most of the dams. For instance, if you look at Lake Chad, some of the issues that are being raised, I'm sorry, it's a bit controversial, but there have been complaints that Tiga Dam and Chala Gorge Dam, for instance, these two dams have caused a lot of problem downstream, killed many of the floodplains within the Komadugu-Yobe Basin, and that is why, for instance, now the Yobe people say they don't want Kafin Zaki because it's also they think that the matter will be worse, whereas although studies indicate that it's not exactly what they think, but the experience with Hadejia, with Tiga Dam or River Hadejia and the Chala Gorge Dam, I think has made it so. The issue of where we have major problem transboundary is Lake Chad, obviously, but the problem is not from other countries. It's a climate change issue, basically, and also population, overgrazing, high temperatures, desertification, a lot of environmental issues. And, well, we're doing what we can, but despite all the efforts made by President Buhari to bring this matter to international attention, I think to a large extent the international community is not interested in helping to invest the kind of money that is required to save this day. But we'll keep pushing. We're also looking at other alternatives, at least within the Nigerian territory. For instance, the Howell Interbasin transfer may, to some extent, help to alleviate some of the problem. And that's one project that we're trying to pursue.
All right. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister of Water and Resources. Now, let's go over to Jane Bevan, who is UNICEF's Chief of WASH in Nigeria. So how clean are the beneficiaries of WASH?
Thank you for having me on the show. Just to say that the ministry is doing a fantastic job, and the numbers do keep going up in terms of the coverage in the country. But the challenge is often that the bar is being raised. So the minister referred to the MDGs, now we have the SDGs. The SDG is asking for what we call safely managed water. So rather than just access to water, it means access to water in your own premises. So the challenge is even higher now to get water to every home in Nigeria by 2030 is going to be, I think we have a coverage of about 14 or 15% at the moment of that level of coverage. The actual access to water is obviously much higher, but to get to safely managed access is going to be quite a challenge. And I think for sanitation, we have a similar situation that many people have somewhere they go, but really good quality, improved sanitation, the coverage again is very low. It's estimated that as many as 1 in 4 Nigerians are defecating in the open all the time.
What are the major challenges in ramping up the numbers?
I think there's a multitude of challenges, but one of the biggest ones, of course, is behaviour change and encouraging people to demand services that are their human right. Sanitation and water are both human rights, and so people have a right to demand that of their governments, that is provided for them. I'm not saying pay for it all, but that, access is made one way or another. And the other thing is that it's expensive. Infrastructure is expensive, and so it's one thing, building a borehole in a community and having a tap stand, but if you want to reticulate and pipe to every single home, that's not only expensive in terms of the capital, but also the operation and maintenance, the continued investment. So people will have to pay for this service, and that also, you know, is a change in the way that things have been done, and so constitutes a challenge. But it's certainly not insurmountable, and it's perfectly possible. And I think, as the Minister mentioned, one of the key way forwards is looking at the private sector. I think the private sector has huge potential to support, particularly locally, particularly areas, you know, where companies are working and they want to give back to the communities that have supported them in their profits, to build infrastructure for their own communities. So I do think that's definitely a potential way forward. And sanitation is a huge challenge, and we still need to keep moving forward with the demand creation, but also with the supply. So there's a question of, you know, what options are available for people to build with and to build toilets with. So we're looking at that, supporting the ministry very much in the Clean Nigeria campaign to get more toilets out there.
Yeah, you said 1 out of 4 Nigerians open defecate in public, and I would like to know how you got to that statistics, and what could be the factor that is responsible for all this? Is it population explosion and other factors? Can you please break it down for us?
So the ministry, supported by Unicef, has a fantastic monitoring system called the WASH norm, and we've been supporting them to collect data over a number of years. And the number that I quoted to you is, I think, 48 million Nigerians defecate in the open, which is approximately 1 in 4. And that number comes from the WASH norm. And I think the last set of data was produced last year, and we're very soon expecting a fresh set of data earlier, certainly sooner, later in this first quarter of 2022.
Okay, thank you. Let's join the Commissioner for Water Resources and Dams Development, Niger State, Yusuf Suleiman. My question to you is, what is the water situation in Niger State? And have you been keen into the different initiatives, you know, put out there by the Ministry of Water Resources, the Federal Ministry of Water Resources? And is water accessible easily?
Well, thank you. And well, water is hardly accessible easily to each state of the Federation. It's really a huge challenge. We came in 2015. Niger State is committed to providing potable water to its teeming population of over 5 million people in a sustainable way. We came in with other administration having some infrastructures, huge infrastructure for that matter, already built. So we are leveraging on that. But again, over time, when we came in, the infrastructure were getting dilapidated. So to start with, His Excellency find it deep to really holistically look into critical ways to give water to the people. We started by providing materials, for instance, low and high lift pumps. We make sure we change the whole pumps, low and high, amounting to over 100 in various urban areas in the state. Now, we try to build water power sustainability in collaboration with our power agencies, that's the Abuja power sector. All this, and the source of water, we are lucky enough, but again, we've got to look at the source of water as we are talking now for onward sustainability. Now, water supply in the state, we came in by providing policies and laws too, because these are the basis for your intervention, support, and to key into international best practices. So we had policies, we have laws, policies 2020, law 2020 equally, and strategically, we, for instance, the water board then was looked into because our budget line is so thin. If you really want to really do the work in water supply, it's so, demanding. So what we did was to break the water agency into, from the law, we got a Niger State Water and Sewage Corporation. Then from that again, we got a small town water agency too, because we noticed most of the money from the budget is being consumed by 5 urban areas alone. So what happens to small towns and rural infrastructures? So this is what we did, and now we're improving. We're looking at this year, 2022, to be a milestone for us. For the urban areas, we've been working towards fine-tuning the law, the policy, thereby working to comply. It has been so challenging, but so far, having come from about 19% water supply, we're about 45% in urban areas. But even though, again, in these 5 urban areas, Mina, Suleja, Kwantagora, New Busa, and Bidda, we're only able to make up for Mina, Suleja, and Kwantagora. New Busa, we've been working on it. The work is almost about 70–80%. But power issue is a critical one for us, and we have issues with the SOM, the pipe, the pump there. We're working in collaboration with Hyperdeck now, so that we can scale through those. But in Mina Center and Suleja and Kwantagora, in average, we are supplying about 45 to about 46% so far. With collaboration with the United States Agency for International Development, they really gave us a huge support, and we're steadily moving on in water supply. But importantly, again, the mindset is a critical challenge. People believe they'll just take water for free. We interface with them, a lot of community. I personally visit community to have interface. And we hope, again, it's going to change with again, in the policy again and in the law, we agree that we must have to build into best practices, global best practices, by providing, the United States Agency for International Development, we're able to meta an area in Mina called Tunga DMA, District Meted Area. We're providing USAID, I mentioned, prepared meta now. And we find it to be really interesting because, as my elder brother, the minister, mentioned, you can never, win that hope of giving people water without really regulating. So the prepared meta, in a way, gave us a huge answer to really getting money and sustaining our water supply. So we're into it. We're going to meta about 3,000 in that area. That alone would change the whole, narratives, because there are always leakages. The physical leakage is from the people that collect bills from the people, and again, that is the staff, and the other leakages from the pipes. So all this took together, is a huge challenge. But we are systematically working on it with the provision of the law and policies in the state. So we are not doing horribly bad, but again, it's going to take time. You've got to be gradually doing what you are doing. This is our take. In the wash sector, sanitary and wash, we are trying to, Minister will believe in me, is been always concerned. I haven't seen any free defecation local government in Niger. We are hoping by this year, with collaboration with World Health Organization, we're going to get, because they are supporting us in about 30 communities now. So that put in place, hopefully, and we're on our own working towards collaborating with the local governments and communities to have a community free defocation, and by extension going through the local government free defocation. It's a huge challenge, but it's unsurmountable anyway.
Yusuf Suleiman, Honorable Commissioner for Water in Niger State, we thank you for your opening comments. But I was just wondering, let's just be frank with ourselves. We all need water daily. It would appear that Nigerians have largely ignored public water supply, particularly in the urban areas, and rely on self-supply. That's to say, sink a borehole, and nobody cares about what water resources is doing and otherwise, which is why it's probably difficult for you to excite any debate about water in your state. And unfortunately, it is not just in Niger State, this is throughout the country. People are not just concerned. What do you think can be done to change this narrative? Because public water supply from the mains is something that we all largely ignore.
I think, first and foremost, we've been so, with due respect, we've been so, pampered by government in previous dispensations. People get water without paying for, and government continually keep working, giving them water. It's grossly unsustainable. It's not possible. I mean, for instance, Niger State government pays about 150 million every month on water supply. That is one, chemical supply, the power supply bills, and payment to staffs too, about 150, 170 million every month. But the utility on its own cannot bring in 20 million. In fact, I came in 2019, it was around 10 million, 11 million. We pushed up to about 20 million. Again, we got some little challenge from within through TSN of a thing. We slumped down, and again, we're rising again, hopefully, because our target last year was to hit 50 million with the support of EWASH through USAID. Now, going to your statement, we are completely, relying on government to give water to people. It's not sustainable. It's just not sustainable. And people felt, why should it? Let me tell you this. The piping, that is the service lane to houses, people expect the government to go and fix the pipes for them. How possible is it? We are managing to fix our trunks, which have been laying for decades and deteriorated. If you don't even control the usage of water into these trunks, you end up, because most of theirs are asbestos types, that is the networks. So you see the challenge. You are battling to fight, fixing the water, treat the water and give to the people. People are sitting there expecting you free of charge. So it's mindset people got to realize, continuous sensitization key, and people must have to agree. But the metering, again, will really change the whole meat. We understand with the metering we're doing now, which is the DMA is a pilot project in the Federation, and we were able to with due respect, got privileged to, through our own merits, it is being merited for anyway. If you know anything about USAID, they don't just give you anything on a platter of gold. You must really merit for it. We are under 5 states, program, and Niger State seems to be doing better. We are able to get the distributed area. And on this alone, it has opened us to reality that you cannot allow or sustain the water utility or facility, allowing the government to really control it. A regulation has to come in. And a partnership has to come in with privates. That is the best way to get an answer to this challenge. But it's going to be over. It take time to do that. So, yes, the government has been striving, but people must have to key in because, as it's been said, water is life.
Yusuf Suleiman, thank you very much. Well, we keep talking about involvement of the private sector. We know that the private sector is, to an extent, involved in water supply, at least in urban areas, even though you might say that this is usually at the elementary level without coming under the umbrella of full regulation. These water tanker owners, they are private sector people. They're not generally government people. Meruwa, those who carry water on their shoulders in those days are now using carts to push their water. They are also private sector suppliers. But when we talk about orientation and attitude, the Honorable Minister also referred to that, and Jane Bivand of Unicef also talked about that. Look, is there a sense in which, I'm not just saying Niger now, if you use the entire country, is there a sense in which water is not a priority, it's not a political project where you can get quick wins, and quick wins are usually targeted at the next election to say, look, we did this. You hear all kinds of things, roads that have been constructed, advertised, and sometimes when I see those roads, say in urban areas, I ask myself, say, look, where are the water pipes? When you are going to now reticulate public water supply, it means you are going to dig up those roads that you have commissioned with a great deal of fanfare.
Well, for that, we came in and met this sort of challenges, government to government, not synergizing. But again, in Niger State, we already tidy up that no job comes up from Ministry of Works. We will have a desk officer in the ministry so that we will be collaborating at the elementary stage so that all then will be part of it. Because we have an area that government is, again, we did the road, unfortunately, undermining the water networks. And when the road was done, trying to open the road, unfortunately, it has to really pierce through the constructed road. We have to lock that one up, and we again have to reticulate the entire area because there was no synergy. So the synergy now is key. Again, talking about the private sector participation, I want to tell you this, it's a huge challenge. If you talk of Merua and tanker drivers, I mean, how convenient or comfortable are you? What is the state of their containers if they are taking water to individual houses? I must say yes, we appreciate their participation because some areas that we don't have network, they make up for us. But the danger in it is when you have issues on water, invariably your health come into it. And if you can't make up to give a potable water to the people, invariably you give water, they go back to hospitals. So to remedy that situation, this arrangement of partnership we are talking about is to consensus the reservoirs, for instance, you know. But again, we can't do that without partnering with House of Assembly members. Politics come into it just like the minister mentioned. Sometimes people felt because the government is doing this, she has people in mind for this partnership. And water, as you mentioned, you know, is beyond politics. So we have to agree and understand. We need one another to really get water to the people. And if you don't do that, good God, it will be serious at the end of the day, which will have a tremendous negative impact to the people. But I hope it's not late. We have to sensitize, we have to partner, we have to talk to one another. Because sincerely, from what I see in Niger State government has been so forthcoming in trying to get water to the people. But again, you don't get water to the people with your budget. We partner with donor agencies, grant, but again, simply because we're able to have laws and policies to meet the demand of international partners, including the Federal Ministry of Water Resources, with due respect. If you don't have these policies, you can't catch up to this challenge. We are having challenges with sanitary aspect, but we're going to make up for it. But for water, we have intervention from Federal Ministry of Water Resources during this COVID. She supplied chemical to us. She built some potable boreholes to us. And these are things we do through the policies and laws. And people must be passionate about this project because everybody needs water.
Water is life, and unclean water is hazardous to our health. We'll take a break right now. When we come back, our conversation will continue. Don't go away.
The ever-busy ancient city of Onitsha is a commercial hub with millions of commuters seamlessly linking other states daily for business, leisure, and other purposes. To upscale its road network, the construction of a 1.6-kilometer-long second Niger bridge, including a 10.3-kilometer highway furnished with other infrastructure, has been in motion by the federal government. This project will ease congestion on the existing 56-year-old Onitsha bridge and boost the economic capacity of the state as it easily connects to other parts of the country. The completion of the world-class second Niger bridge Onitsha will be one of the many proud moments of the state, its people, Nigerians, and foreign investors. Onitsha, which hosts the largest market in Africa, is geared up to boast of an impressive road network. Once again, these moments are made alive by the federal government, and it is deserving of all the applause.
Every harmattan, he falls sick so frequently and misses school often. I keep him away from junk food.
She also feeds me apple. She says an apple a day keeps...
If you want to keep germs away, then use Dettol soap regularly. Germs and disease spread easily during Harmattan. For this, use Dettol soap. Dettol protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Dettol soap is endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association. Be Dettol sure.
We've been trying our best to contain the situation, and in our operations, we've been able to make a lot of recoveries. We've been able to also arrest suspects that are involved in this kind of activities, and we've been able to also recover, particularly arms and ammunition from those who are carrying it unlawfully and disturbing the peace of the people. But generally, our morale in the Nigerian police is always guided by our commitment to do what we have sworn to do. Peace and security must be looked into as a priority by all. To look at security as the business of all of us.
This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
We are all Nigerians. Against all odds, we shall and must remain united. We may have our challenges, our problems, and setbacks. However, together we shall overcome them all. What doesn't break us shall make us stronger. This is the mindset that shall bring peace, progress, and prosperity to our beloved country. Do not let tribal and religious sentiments govern how you think, act, or feel. Don't be influenced by those who want to destroy our precious national unity. Everybody who's a Nigerian is your brother and your sister. This is the mindset of the new Nigeria. It is also the mindset that we must all adopt. Let us support each other in creating the Nigeria of our dreams. This message is from the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
The center is purposely established in order to provide these services that are examinations, medical examinations, and investigations that were not provided for in Kano as well as the entire Northwest region. It's equipped with modern technological equipment in terms of radiological services. We have MRI 1.5 Tesla. We have digital X-ray as well as 4D ultrasound equipment. The importance of the center cannot be overemphasized. Just within 1 year, the center attended to thousands and numerous patients as well as medical examinations. NKDC is established in order also to provide these healthcare facilities as a discounted price.
This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
You're welcome back, and you're watching Good Morning Nigeria, and our guests are still seated in the studio, and we have one in Niger State. Honorable Minister, I'm coming to you. There's a $700 million loan out there approved by FEC, and I would like to know, Kingsley and I would like to know, what this loan will be used for. And you said 7 states will have access to these loans. What criteria did you use to get the 7 states out of 36 states, you know, to key into this loan?
Well, the soil wash facility, $700 million, $350 million is going to support urban schemes in 7 states, and the remaining $350 million will be used also for wash intervention in some states. The wash, of course, we're talking about essentially sanitation and hygiene in particular, and some rural water supply schemes. So 50% for urban, 50% for rural. And the beauty of this particular facility is that it's going to be what I mentioned earlier as performance for results. And that means states will have to invest their own money first. Once they have done the projects, they've done the things that need to be done, then there is a monitoring mechanism between the World Bank and the Federal Ministry of Water, so that will, and with an independent consultant that will assess the work that has been done, and then the money will be paid back to them. I think this is a model that I would like to adopt going forward. We're also going to adopt it for our own national P-WASH program. The criteria was set by the World Bank. First and foremost, I think the most important thing is that states must have demonstrated a commitment to improving their wash services, among other things. And so that's how these 7 states were selected. So the loan is not to the federal government. It's essentially going to the states. There's going to be a sub-loan agreement, between the federal government and the states. And they are the ones that are going to pay back the money eventually. So essentially, that is what it's all about.
What's the time frame?
Well, the loan became effective on January 14th, I think. I can't remember, but usually maybe 4 or 5 years, I guess. I don't have such details. It's our own, we negotiated the loan, so it came about. First of all, we had our own roadmap. We looked at the Millennium Development Goals indices. We now have what Jane was referring to, the upping the ante of the Sustainable Development Goals, making the conditions more stringent. And there was this World Bank diagnostic report that came out in 2017, which showed that in 1992, 30% of Nigerians enjoyed pipe-borne water. But as at 2015, that figure had dropped to 7% only. And that was really scary for us. In fact, we were going for the National Council on Water Resources meeting in Akure. We had already a theme, but I called an emergency meeting. We changed the theme so that we could focus on this report as, and change the whole theme to address the urban water supply challenge. Immediately after that, we got talking with the World Bank. That led to the to the development of the WASH Action Plan, which was launched by Mr. President on November 8th, 2018, along with the declaration of a state of emergency on the WASH sector by Mr. President. After that, then came this, as part of the effort to support that WASH Action Plan, this soil wash facility was offered by the World Bank, and which we took. And we're hoping that many states have shown interest, but the key thing also, there is a second tier group. The first tier will get the bulk of the money, the 7 states, but there is also a second tier set of states that have been trying to improve on their services, but were not able to meet the criteria for getting the loan. So part of the 350 million facility will also go to those states so that we can help them to improve on their capacities. For instance, many states in this country, they talk about water supply. I had the Niger State Commissioner speaking. I know Niger State has been trying to do a lot of work, but I think many states are not getting right. First of all, you need to plan. Many of the states that were able to get get this, to earn their place in the Starwash program are states that have demonstrated a lot of capacity and will to improve. They have maybe already set up plans. They have some laws and regulations in place, which were things that the World Bank has, requires. They set up the criteria. So whatever you want to do, you need to plan. And whatever you need to do, when you plan, you should also put mechanisms in place to ensure that this plan is implemented to the letter. What has been happening, I had Kingsley made reference to, is that many states are looking at the election horizon. They're looking at 4 years or at most 8 years. Water supply delivery is a continuous thing because the population keeps growing. You just have to keep going. As the population is increasing, you need to be scaling up. And that's why it is very, very important to plan and to plan for a horizon. It was not by accident that we took our roadmap, we took a 15-year roadmap. Because we knew we were looking at doing things well beyond this administration. And that is the way we would like to see the states moving. When they plan a water scheme, it may not be delivered. It takes a lot of time to deliver water, to do the treatment, the transmission. The distribution network will be forever because as the cities keep expanding, you have to keep expanding. And then you have to keep going back to the source and increasing the source, getting additional sources to treat the water and then deliver to the people. You can't just provide a scheme. Most of the schemes that are operating, they are 40 years behind schedule. You know, you look at there for a population maybe 30, 40 years ago. That's right. You cannot expect that scheme to provide for the same people today. And you are not investing anything. And all these schemes, yes, they also have a lifespan. After 20, 30 years, the commissioner was talking about AC pipes, cement asbestos pipes. These pipes were laid maybe 50, 60 years ago. In any case, it has been proved technologically that they are not even fit for human consumption. And there ought to have been a plan of replacement. So it's not just, there's a lot that is involved in water supply delivery. And that's why we're beginning to believe that state governments cannot do it alone. Government agencies cannot do it alone. And they need to bring in the private sector to work with them. But I also accept the point that the Commissioner has made very, very important. People must also partner. It's not about private sector participation, not about investors. When we say private sector participation, even the consumers must be participants in this. Because if you are not paying the bill, you have to pay for the electricity, you have to pay for the chemicals, you have to pay for the workers. So at least what we're expecting is state water agencies should recover their costs so that they can put it back, and people need to understand this. And people, I think we just don't have economic sense because a lot of people will prefer to pay for this Merua if they add up the costs on a monthly basis, what they're spending. It's cheaper for them to pay the water board a fixed fee, most cases in a month, than to be relying on this vendors where you don't even have, you can't control the quality. You don't know where the water is coming from.
You also talked about leakages. We can't rule it out from officials.
Yes,
how do you block these leakages?
Yeah, the leakages, of course, may be a revenue collection. There's a serious problem there. But I think even more than that, the physical leakage of water is a serious problem. We call it unaccounted for water. And a lot of these state water agencies lose up to about 50% of the water. There are illegal connections. Water is leaking. There are old pipes. It's buried in the ground. You don't know what is happening.
Honourable Minister, thank you very much. Jane Vivant, once again, UNICEF's Chief of WASH. Tell us briefly, what is your strategy for implementing WASH? Does UNICEF identify opportunities and then bring those opportunities to the attention of government and other implementing agencies, or does UNICEF on its own jump in to implement those opportunities that it has found?
Thanks for the question. And just to be clear, UNICEF is here to support Nigeria and the Nigerian government to achieve the goals that it wants to achieve. So we wouldn't just work off doing our own thing. We definitely would support the government in any programs. And I think I see our key role really as supporting the ministry in particular, but also all of the states with strategies, advocacy and policy support so that they can help themselves to reach these goals, because we don't see it as our role to do it for the country, but to support with technical support and data, for example, as I mentioned earlier, to really support the government to achieve these goals. I can give an example with the monitoring program, but also trialling with the sanitation in different regions. So, for example, we've been supporting several states to increase the sanitation coverage, and we're really hoping that...
Those states include the FCT?
Yes, we're working in Kwali, in FCT, and with the Ruwasa here. But we are hoping that 2 states will become fully open defecation free this year.
Jigawa was leading the other time.
Jigawa.
What is its position now?
It's still number 1. We're hoping.
It will change.
All right, thanks. I was just wondering.
Yeah.
Sorry, because I raised this point specifically under the WASH idea, how we seek to invest. Now, we are at the headquarters studios of the Nigerian Television Authority. It's about 42 kilometers from here to the Nnamdi Azikiwe Airport, and about 49 kilometers to Giri Junction. Take a look. Is there any public toilet facility on the way to the airport, moving from the city gate, for instance? So if you get pressed, what do? Going to the airport or coming from the airport? Or if you are going on the Kubwa Expressway towards Zuba, do you have any public toilet facility if you get pressed?
There could be, and there are. I think that we have lots of filling stations. Most of them have toilets. And Executive Order number 9, signed by the President on 20th November 2019, says that all the filling stations, all commercial entities, the malls you have there should open their toilets to the public. No. Yeah. No, I understand what you're saying.
How well maintained?
I'm coming to that. Well, that is a different thing, because these are private toilets. But I'll tell you, I think I have hope. A couple of weeks ago, I was in Kano. We stopped by, we were going on a tour, and we went to a filling station to fill our vehicles. And I decided to take a leak. And I was very, very impressed with the toilet in the filling station. I had to get the number of the owner and call him and thank him and encourage him. And he was told me that he has a brand that all his filling stations, they're already doing that. It's a slow process, but I think people are understanding the importance. And right now we are talking with the FCT. There are lots of private sector people that have come. They're just looking. They want that a small corner of land to establish. They understand that you can make it. You can earn a living. You can make money out of sanitation facilities. Precisely. And the Minister of FCT has gracefully agreed that anybody that wants to set up a public toilet, he's going to give them the water for free. So they will have free water connection. He said even they can have free power connection. But what we are thinking is that people, we would rather that they put a solar panel, because all you need is one or two pieces, lamp holders, and that's it. So if we can put a solar panel and maybe fix it so that nobody will pilfer it, I think that would be good. So Kingsley, going forward, I think we're winning this show. We started in 2017 with one local government that was open defecation free. Today we have 76. And I will say that, yes, Kano and Katsina both have 20, Jigawa and Katsina have 22 local governments each. But of course, Jigawa has a total of 27, while Katsina has 30-something. So it's, I think this Jigawa, we can say, is leading. And since charity begins at home, I'm very proud to say that, and to say that even my own local government is open defecation free. And Katsina is the president state, and his local government is open defecation free. So
congratulations.
Let's talk briefly about is there a special provision for IDP camps in the wash?
Oh yes, we have been doing, since we came into office since 2016, we have created a budget line for IDPs, and we've been providing water schemes and toilet facilities for them. And we've even been doing that even for flood victims. Where there's been flood, we have quickly gone in to provide sanitation facilities for them and alternative water solutions. That we've been doing very, very religiously for the past 5-6 years.
Unfortunately, we are pressed for time. I was going to raise the issue of poor dam management. Siltation remains a key issue for the dams, and therefore flooding is a challenge when we have heavy rainfall. What can be done? Very briefly, Honorable Minister.
Look, this is something that has, there's a lot of damage because the ecosystem has been distorted. Deforestation, that's basically the main thing. When trees are felled without any control, erosion sets in. So unless we go back to it, we are hoping that the National Tree Planting Campaign, the Great Green Wall Project, and the new project now that we're doing, ACRISAL with the World Bank, will help to support some of, to alleviate some of this. People must protect their own ecosystems. I think that is just in a nutshell, that's what it's about. There is no any special intervention. People have been talking about desilting the dams. If you know the cost of desilting and the need to dispose, where do you dispose the spoil and so on? When you add up the cost, it's probably better to look for another location and build another dam. Besides, dams, like human beings, have a lifespan. The designers, depending on the location, the hydrology, a dam will have a lifespan. Some dams have 50 years, 100 years, 1,000 years. It all depends. So many of these dams have outlived their useful life. I mean, that's a natural thing. It is expected scientifically that they cannot function anymore. So they become ornamental, or you just have to... but the flood issue is unfortunate, but we're lucky that we've not been having so many dam breaches, not many dam collapses over the years. But, well, it is there. We have to go back to natural processes of relieving alleviating this problem.
Okay, Honorable Minister of Water Resources, Engineer Suleiman Adamu, thank you so much for coming on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
Chief of WASH, Unicef, Jane Bevan, it's a pleasure to have you join us.
Thank you.
And the Commissioner for Water Resources and Dams Development, Niger State, Yusuf Suleiman, thank you so much for your contribution to the program. Sports Update is next.
The road to Australia begins now.
The FIBA Women's Basketball World Cup 2018 in Tenerife was a seminal moment for the D Tigers of Nigeria, who defeated Turkey 74-68 for their first ever triumph in the World Cup, and then defeated Greece to advance to the quarterfinals. Nigeria, with the memory of Tenerife prominent in their tour,